Welcome to episode 17 of Convergence with Karen Holton, here on People for People Radio. Find out how the personal is political as we explore the politics here on Earth, the exopolitics of our galaxy, and how these intersect with spiritual transformation through my unique perspective. Just to catch you up, in Convergence episodes 8 to 15, I shared my latest version of the Quantum Health Transformation Program. As an overview, Quantum Health Transformation Steps 9, 8, and 7 form the first tier of training in this free online lifestyle course, which will help you to open your mind and expand your awareness. Then the information that I share in Quantum Health Transformation Steps 6, 5, and 4 form the second tier of training, which is all about detoxification to improve wellness and to become free from the negative influences of the social construct. Quantum Health Transformation Steps 3, 2, and 1 form the third and final tier of training. It offers a deeper understanding of your spiritual potential and offers ways to significantly raise your energetic signature. You may want to come back and listen to each episode again, as they contain a lot of information with some deeper concepts to consider. Last week in episode 16, I shared an allegory that I received from my spirit guides about the awakening and the ascension process. Please feel free to contact me for more information and for assistance with your consciousness expansion, detoxification, and ascension program. Also, my services are found under the shop tab on my website, www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. If this is your first time joining us, I encourage you to check out the archives here on People for People Radio or my YouTube channel to find all of the episodes of Convergence. Today, in episode 17, I am delighted to introduce you to my friend Lorilei Potvin of the Angel Rock Show. Lorilei and I are both judges for the Natural and Common Law Tribunal for Public Health and Justice, and we're up to date about the facts and the implications of these facts on both national and international levels. Today we will discuss the current Canadian political climate and repercussions. But first, Lorilei, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Karen. And thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here with you.
Oh, it's just a great pleasure for me to have you on the show. I'm wondering, Lorilei, before we get started, can you tell folks a bit about who you are, what you do, and where people can find you?
Excuse me. Absolutely. Okay, my name, as Karen said, is Lorilei Potvin. I am a Canadian psychic medium. I'm a crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records Practitioner, registered nurse, and I'm also a spiritual teacher and mentor. Also, the mom to a son with severe autism, because I believe this is going to be coming a little bit about depending where we go with this conversation. So I have quite a bit of knowledge with that. And like you said, Karen, I am a podcaster with a larger network out of New Orleans, Louisiana called United Public Radio Network. Monday nights is my live show. And what I do with the Angel Rock is I cover all aspects of the supernatural. So anything from the paranormal to UFOs to the power of the mind, power of positivity. Again, many of the things that's why we've connected when it comes to energy and maintaining a positive balance, if you will, with all the craziness in the world. And Tuesday nights, I also do a show with my best friend from South Florida called Tripping the Void. And we basically talk about anything that's sort of in the news, new trends. It could be, we find our audience seems to like a lot when we talk about the paranormal. That's pretty well me in a nutshell.
Oh, fantastic. So, I know that things are really crazy in Ontario. Would you like to tell us a little bit about what's going on as far as, like, in some countries, they're having very few restrictions. In other countries, they're having a lot more. We're really facing a very unbelievable situation. So, can you tell us a bit about what's going on in Ontario? What are your concerns, Lorilei? Where do you see that's headed?
Oh boy. Okay, so we went into lockdown like the rest of Canada last year. It's been nothing but a fear propaganda machine with mainstream media. But what's happened, and I believe we have a tyrant that we would call the premier here in Canada for each province. Some people, if maybe you're in the United States, you would consider it like a governor. His name is Doug Ford. That name is very well known considering that Rob Ford made the talk show rounds a few years back before he passed away. This is his brother when he was mayor of Toronto for smoking crack and cocaine and many other illegal infringements. Anyways, this tyrant, as I call him, or Slug Ford, has decided that he is going to put Ontario in lockdown. We have barely been out of lockdown like the rest of Canada, but we went into this Good Friday. It was right after Good Friday with Easter. And I remember seeing him on national TV talking to the citizens of Ontario like they were children, admonishing people for going in and out of malls because he had already put us in lockdown but not closed everything. And they weren't coming out with a bag. So this was an essential shopping. Never mind that this was Easter weekend. So Easter Monday, I believe, he put us in the strictest lockdown we have ever been in. I have been posting on social media, and people thought this was about a cell phone cord because, well, I was actually just at one of the dollar stores. It struck me to take pictures of this, and there are signs everywhere, and the government has decided what is essential and what isn't. So even baby products in many of the stores are considered non-essential. You are only allowed to buy food pretty well or prescriptions. That is it. It is illegal to sell it to you. No store will sell it to you. And I was just having this conversation with somebody last night stating, they said, well, you can order online. Actually, it was my producer. And I said, yes, you can order online, but we even pay for prime delivery with one of the larger manufacturers that has been allowed to stay open. And it's supposed to be here in a day or two. We're still waiting 6 weeks. And again, my concern is why the government gets to decide what is essential for Ontarians. Never mind, small businesses are closing left, right, and center. Our main mall here, we're about a city of 100,000, is it's pretty well almost closed, everything in there. So it's becoming a ghost town. People are becoming homeless. We had Chris Sky come through here on his Cross Canada tour, and he was arrested by our police. He did not arrange the gathering. I'm finding most of the people around us here, and again, I haven't talked to everybody in our city, they are asleep. They are lining up for this jab that's out there. They are believing it's a vaccine without understanding the mechanics or what's behind a vaccine, a true vaccine. I could go on and on, but this is the worst lockdown we've ever been under. And what's happening, people may not be aware of in Canada, is with this PCR test that was never designed to test for COVID. So when you get a COVID test with the PCR test, what it was designed for was another kind of diagnostic tool, but what it measures if you get a quote unquote positive PCR test, and this doesn't mean people are in the hospitals either. People are taking videos of hospital emergency rooms that are basically like a morgue, and we're being told that we're being overrun with all these numbers. But the problem with the PCR test is it does not pick up COVID. It can pick up inflammation. You could have a cold, you could have bronchitis, you could have asthma. And the other thing that Canada, not just Ontario, has done is set the level that has been set to tell you that you're positive for COVID, a certain number. They've made that 3 to 4 times more sensitive than what the recommended numbers are. So we're getting these supposed astronomical numbers. And this lockdown was only supposed to last for 4 weeks. We're entering 6 weeks, and May the 20th, everything is supposed to reopen. And I just seen in the news that they're planning on this lockdown it's an indefinite period of time. And again, it's the worst that we've ever been in. Everything is roped off. You can't buy anything. And like I said, this is crazy, and we've got no end in sight. And the one thing I do want to make the distinction of very quickly, Karen, is that most of the population in Ontario is in southern Ontario. It's a completely different, if you will, animal living in northern Ontario, where I live, compared to southern Ontario. We don't have the populations, we don't have the numbers, yet we're being painted with the same brush and we're all being locked down. So that's pretty well, I mean, there's much more to it. Gosh, we could just do a show on the lockdown and happening in Canada, but there's so much to discuss. I hope that's clear enough.
Yes, that's fantastic. Now, I just want to clarify two things that you said. When you said the hospitals are like a morgue, you didn't mean it's full of bodies, you meant that it's empty.
I'm glad you said that, because I said that to somebody else and they did take it that way. And thank you for clarifying that. What I mean is people are taking pictures of emergency departments and there is nobody in there. There's actually social media pages. There's one, I believe, on Facebook where people from all over the world have gone into emergency rooms for whatever, taking video. There's nobody in there. I also know of registered nurses who have been told by, not necessarily in my city, but this is pertaining to Southern Ontario, certain nurses have told me that they've been told by their administration to turn people away, that they're overrun, and there's nobody in the emergency department.
Yeah, it's a little bit disconcerting too to see how, and it's no fault to the nurses,
No.
but it bothers me to see that they are going to work and they're just practicing dance routines for TikTok every day and having dance offs, and there's no way they would have time for that if they were even doing the job they were doing before COVID hit. Now, I want to touch a bit more on the PCR testing, because I don't know if it runs the same way in every country, but as you mentioned, they're running it like at 45 cycles, and it's never supposed to be run more than 20 or
Thank you
25
for the
from,
numbers. Yes, you're
yeah.
absolutely right.
And what that basically means is they just take the material, like the test results, and they just amplify it and amplify it and amplify it. It's a very distorted view, and it comes up with a very high number of false positives. So what our government is doing is posting how many of these so-called positive PCR tests, and they're scaring the hell out of everybody with those numbers, when probably, what percent would you say, Lorilei? You've got more experience being a nurse than myself. How many of the PCR positives do you think are false, and how many do you think are actually accurate?
Okay, this is just a guess, and I should clarify for people. I still have my license, and I'm still on top of what's going on in the healthcare field. I am on permanent disability due to a back injury, so I cannot speak from an active perspective, but through my research, and I'm going to try and be generous here, I'm going to say 85 to 90% of those tests are asymptomatic. So to me, I mean, we can even get into the fact that they have never isolated the complete virus, which they are attributing to what is responsible for COVID. They have a tiny strand of it. So to me, and the thing they're not distinguishing, and there's many people that just watch the mainstream media, they're not realizing they're creating this fear, and people are afraid to leave their homes. They're thinking this COVID is rampant. I'm going to die. Well, even if you have a serious, serious health issue, does COVID exist? Yes. But even if you have a serious health issue, there are so many treatments out there. The chances, I just watched a video last night on this, 99% chance of survival.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Oh, you're testing healthy people for something. Where in the, besides maybe for HIV, have you tested somebody that's healthy to be screening for something and then making them quarantine for at least 2 weeks where they have no symptoms. And it's been proven through science. And I believe this. I've seen enough scientific papers and physicians and microbiologists and epidemiologists coming out and stating that it's not transmissible if you get a positive test. And I think we need to really underline the fact that the PCR test does not specifically test for COVID. So if you've got inflammation going on in the body, never mind the amplification. Thank you for bringing up the numbers too, Karen, because I didn't even pull that up before. So I'm so glad you had that in front of you. Is just because you've got a positive test and you're asymptomatic, it does not mean you have COVID. So this is what's, and unless people take a look, like my partner just had a friend over and he's on the fence. He actually said the other night, geez, I think there's something going on with all this COVID. And I said, are you ready to open Pandora's box? Jokingly.
Mm-hmm.
But we started to tell him some of the information and he said, oh, I don't do research. He said, I just get my information from the news.
Oh,
And this
dear.
is what we're finding a lot of people are doing. And then, even again, it doesn't pertain to our discussion, but we'll just very quickly visit, say, what happened in the US around their last election. Now the information is coming out and they're saying, well, I wouldn't have voted the way I did had I known. The information is there. All we have to do is be willing to take a look.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. Now, I'm just, before I get into what's going on in Alberta, I do want to ask you one other thing, which is a new development, and that is about those checkpoints. Are they manned by police officers? Are they manned by the military? How extensive are these roadblocks? Or do people have freedom of travel? What's happening there?
I can't speak from personal experience because I'm not on a provincial border. I can't get over the US border. I haven't been able to do that. Normally, heck, we've even got a bus from our city that goes over back and forth 3 or 4 times a day in previous times to the casino over on the US side. I'm friends with the lady that owns the store 2 minutes over on the US side. I haven't been able to cross. But with these provincial checkpoints, I can only speak from what I've seen. And I'm going to reference Chris Sky because he spoke out about it. He was traveling with somebody else that wasn't from Ontario, and he said they were not allowed through the checkpoint. He did not state, as I understand it, I believe it's police that are manning these borders, but please don't quote me because this is not from personal experience. It's just what I've seen and
Yeah.
through my research. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm going to just share a little bit about what's going on in Alberta
Absolutely.
and BC because it's different. It's ugly, just as ugly, but it's a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So we're under severe lockdown too. We're not allowed to go out unless it's to get food or to have some exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And we're supposed to wear a mask even if we're outside
Yes, us too.
around people, which is just absurd. We have to wear a mask in order to get food. So, as much as I'm a big rebel, I have to wear something. I wear a face shield because I can't breathe when I'm in a mask.
Mm-hmm.
And it causes me intense anxiety. And then I have a panic attack, and that doesn't help, makes it even harder for me to breathe. So I started wearing a face shield simply because I have to. But everybody is masked up like crazy.
Yep, too.
Little children are all masked up. But this is the weird thing, okay? They're really, really persecuting pastors and ministers who are continuing to provide support to their congregations.
Mm-hmm.
And both the ministers that have been targeted, one in Edmonton and one in Calgary, they've actually been holding their services outdoors so that people can be out in the open air and social distance. And they're being absolutely brutalized. The pastor from Edmonton was locked in jail for 35 days, something like that. And the one in Calgary, they just brutalized him. There's footage that just will make you sick to your stomach, how this guy, they
Mhm.
stop him not while he's doing the service, but afterwards on his way home, and get him to come out of the vehicle, and then they drop him to his knees, handcuff him, and then carry him by his arms. So that is absolute torture. From my protest days, I've been arrested. I know what it's like to be handcuffed and to have all your weight. He's a fairly big guy. To have all your weight on your shoulders with your arms behind your back and being carried that way is brutal. Plus, they cuffed him and put him in that position quite a long ways from the vehicle that was actually going to transport him. So I believe it was pretty deliberate. Then another form of torture is when he was in jail for about 24 hours. They kept the lights on maximum and they gave no pillow, no blanket. They were forced to sit on cement the whole time. So this is really nasty, nasty business going on here. Now, another thing that's happened in Alberta is where we can't leave the province. We can't come or go out of the province.
Yeah.
And in British Columbia, it's even worse. They've given health districts, and people are not allowed to come or go from any of these health
That's how we are
districts.
too. That's how we are too. You can't
Oh,
from a
okay.
gray zone to an orange zone. I did want to
Yeah,
add another thing. I've seen a video of a 12-year-old actually tackled by police on a skateboard for
yeah.
skateboarding alone. We do have a question, Karen. I hope I can share that with you. Is that okay, or do you want to finish
Oh,
what
go
you're
ahead.
saying?
Go ahead.
Because
Absolutely.
Zach says, I heard that they are making vaccines mandatory in Canada.
Well, I don't know. Do you know if that's true, Lorilei?
All I can tell you is my concern is I did see one of these so-called health doctors, if you will, for one of the provinces, which was in Quebec, and this was after Christmas, with quite a smirk on his face, stating, no, the vaccines won't be mandatory, but you will basically be a prisoner in your home. You will
Yeah,
not be able to access health care. You will
yeah.
not be able to go to work. You will not be able to go to school. You will not be able to enter a shopping mall. And he basically said, in his own words, and again with a smirk on his face the whole time, that you'll be a prisoner in your home. You will be punished because you will not do what we say. And I've seen our fair leader come out and say that he's been very cagey about it, but it sounds like these vaccine passports may be going through. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what my concern is, because these two intermingle. If you don't have the vaccine passport, you don't go anywhere. You're going to be stuck in your home. Hmm.
Oh, absolutely. Let me share with you a postcard I got in the mail
Hmm.
from the Alberta government.
Hmm.
And it says, Alberta, it's time to sign up, show up, and follow up. And I want to just tell you what I take each point from the back of the postcard, and I'd love to get your opinion on each one.
Sure.
So it says, here's why you should get immunized. Now, they're not, we all know that it's not an immunization in any
Not
in any
close.
stretch of the imagination, but they
Medical
want us
device.
to believe that it is.
It's a medical device because
It's a
it's nowhere near what a vaccine should or shouldn't be. They've changed the legislation even, or the wording of what a vaccine is, but this is not a vaccine in any sense of the word.
That's right. So the first point is immunization is the best way to prevent yourself from getting sick with COVID-19.
You're
Would you
welcome.
agree with that?
Absolutely not.
No, no. First of all, first of all, there's the whole issue of them, people who are vaccinated shedding the spike protein and or other elements that are making other people sick just from contact. And they're told it doesn't prevent them from transmitting COVID or from receiving it. Yet here they're saying that it is the best way to prevent yourself from getting sick. They don't mention exercise, they don't mention vitamins, they don't mention eating properly, they don't mention anything. It's just the very best thing is to go out and get your shot, your COVID-19 shot. And they're telling us it's the best way to prevent ourselves from getting it. Do you
But
have
the,
any other
yeah,
comments about that, Lorilei?
lots, because, okay, first of all, you're right. It does not prevent transmission. I love the fact I was watching a great it was a bit of it was a podcast, and it was one of the nurses, and I'm so proud of her in Ontario. Here she wanted to speak up and tell the truth, and she did. She has been fired. She's 14-year exemplary nurse with nothing but 5-star reviews every year for her work review. She was fired, and my own professional organization, the College of Nurses, is going after her license to remove her license for telling the truth. So she
Mm-hmm.
was in this podcast. She organized it with Dr. Sherry Tenpenny. And you know what? I have to agree with everything that Dr. Sherry said, including the fact that we can't even call this shedding, because normally what shedding
Mm-hmm.
refers to is when somebody has had a vaccine, and the vaccine either has a killed strand or a live strand of what they're being vaccinated against. It's supposed to cause an immune response, so that if you encounter the agent that you have been injected with in the way of a vaccine, you will not get it, or you may get it very, very, very mildly. She said,
Mm-hmm.
this is not shedding, because you are not shedding a live piece of anything. So what
Mm-hmm.
this is yes, you are, from what they understand, and they're still trying to figure this out, you are it's a transmission. You're transmitting
Mm-hmm.
something out of your
Mm-hmm.
body, that and when you get into the mechanics of how this medical device works, it negates your whole immune system. It also, on top of it, is causing every cell to make these spiked proteins, and you can even get into how they made them. I mean, we could do a whole show on that, but the thing that
Mm-hmm.
scares me is we seem to be seeing a lot of hematological or blood issues with people
Yeah.
that haven't been vaccinated,
Mm-hmm.
and the side effects that they're getting, and very, very scary. I'm sure we'll get into it. But getting back to, does this stop transmission? I just love this when they say, somebody will ask, why should I get the vaccine? Because we're thinking of others. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we're thinking of others. Why do I still have to wear a mask? Why do I still have to social distance? Why can I
Mm-hmm.
still get COVID, which is many cases of people still getting COVID? So
Mm-hmm.
if it's not stopping the transmission, how are we thinking of others,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The second point under here, why you should get immunized, it says immunization is the fastest way to get back to normal and reopen our communities. Do you believe that?
Absolutely not. I think it's the carrot dangling in front of the, and I'm sorry, I mean this with no disrespect, but people that are still asleep. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
go back to that podcast with Dr. Sherry, and I think this is a really important point. I think we are past the point, not giving up, but still trying to wake people up. And I
Mm-hmm.
think she made a very good point with, it's the point now where we have to start recognizing that maybe it's time to let go,
Yeah.
meaning it's already done. It's already done. If you've had the shot, I was talking to somebody yesterday that's a close friend of mine, and because their work is all about travel all around the world, and they've
Mm-hmm.
been adamant they weren't going to get the shot. They did, because they need to get back to their livelihood, and they need to start making some money.
Mm-hmm.
So, is it mandatory when you asked in Canada? You know it's not, and it's not, say, in the US and other countries. But when you need to travel for work, or you need to do what you need to do,
Mm-hmm.
it's either you're out on the street without a roof over your head, or you submit to this. And my whole point is, why are you pushing this so hard? Why are you pushing this? There are treatments out there. Ivermectin, there's
Mm-hmm.
vitamin D, zinc,
Mm-hmm.
there's quinine. Sorry, I can't even think of the word right now. I'm getting so worked up about this. But quercetin, there's all kinds of things that have
Yes.
been proven safe, and again, 99.99% chance of surviving, if that we're talking about those that are vulnerable with
Mm-hmm.
health issues and what have you. Working within the cancer field myself, yes, a common cold can kill somebody going through chemo that has their immunity, their white blood cells down in their boots, as we used to
Yeah.
say. But what they do, yes, of course they wear a mask. Of course they avoid people that are sick. They stay indoors. But not everybody else. The amount of suicide alone I have seen amongst young people is breaking my heart. There's so
Yeah,
many other implications with this. Sorry, Sarah. Sarah, I'm calling you Sarah. I'm used to Seraphine. Sorry, Karen, go
that's
ahead. I know you
that's
got quite a list.
no, that's okay. All good, my dear friend. Actually, the woman who lives next door to me, she's been in and out of the a mental hospital because she keeps repeatedly trying to commit suicide.
That's
The
sad.
couple on the other side of where I live, the woman is just freaking out, having meltdowns so terrible, the pounding on the walls and the
Oh,
slamming and beating up her partner. Like people are
oh,
just losing it from the
yeah.
stress. So
Hmm.
if they believe that everything will get back to normal if they go and get the shot, they're going to run for it. Now,
Hmm.
this is the third bullet point. This just makes me so mad I can hardly talk.
I'm getting
Here,
mad too, Karen. I can't even talk
here's
either.
here's why you should get immunized. It says immunization is safe, effective, and necessary.
Hmm.
Holy smokes.
Holy smokes is right because no, it's not necessary. It makes me angry from the start that they're calling this a vaccine. Most people aren't aware that most health agencies, I saw that there was a fellow Canadian in Nova Scotia calling them the FDA's. The FDA's Federal Drug Administration is only in the US. In Canada, it's called Health Canada.
Yeah.
None of these are approved for regular use. We are in an emergency situation that's been declared, and they've been approved for emergency use. Now, I can't speak from a Canadian perspective, but I can speak from the US. There was
Hmm.
a nurse that sounded the alarm in many of the groups that I am in that was wanting to change her insurance provider with the US. And she was informed that no, that's not going to happen because we are refusing to insure nurses. And I saw a copy of her policy. It said right in the small print that if you take the vaccine and something happens to you, your insurance policy is null and void. Now, maybe
Yeah.
it was just her company, but she made quite the post that she called many, many companies, and nobody was willing to insure her because the one thing I will thank you or thank is the fact that I'm not in active duty right now because what would I be doing? That's my livelihood. I'm a single mother. I would have to be working, and in order to work in the hospital or anywhere else, I would have been forced to take this shot.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh, yeah. So, so this is just, and then it just says the right. So here's what they do to make you want it more. It says the right vaccine for you is the first one that's available, and it just sums up. The postcard sums up by telling people to sign up,
Hmm.
and as soon as it's their turn, which you can find out by going online, and then you're supposed to show up for your appointment
Hmm.
and get vaccinated, well, so-called vaccinated, and
Hmm.
then you're supposed to follow up for your booster. Now, this postcard went out to every household in Alberta. It is blatant lies,
Hmm.
absolutely blatant lies. And so I'm wondering how many people are falling for it. I'm guessing quite a few because people are
Too
so
many.
fed up,
Hmm.
so fed up with the restrictions.
What I want
Um,
to add, Karen, if I may, is what
please
people
do.
may not be aware of is in Canada, we are the only country, and they've publicly admitted, you can find this yourself. Anything we're talking about, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to please take a look for yourself. If anything resonates with you in this conversation we're having, please take a look for yourself. The only thing I say is if you can maybe avoid Google because of they're part of the big
Yeah.
Silicon Valley. But Canada is the only country that is recommending that you wait up to 4 months to get your booster shot. Everywhere else, it's what, 6 weeks?
Oh,
And
some 2 weeks.
And in Canada too, it's being spoken about in other countries. We're the first country that is probably more than likely, it looks like, approving for 12 to 15-year-olds to get the shot as well.
Oh, yeah. So in Alberta, head health person, the um, the person who has the authority to
Mm-hmm.
call the shots around this in Alberta, her name is Hinshaw,
Mm-hmm.
and people are really upset because they believe she has now none of this is official, so please don't take it as official.
Mm-hmm.
But just from all the different chat groups and all the conversation, because there's a lot of conversation going on right now, people are concerned that she's got some kind of a mental health issue, like
Wow.
Munchausen by proxy,
Oh,
because
wow.
here this woman who never had any probably excitement in her life, had nobody even really knew who she was. Suddenly she's on TV all the time. She's got great power. She gets to make sweeping recommendations, and she's getting so much attention
Mm-hmm.
that people are questioning her sanity. So
Right.
Jason Kenney, who is the premier of Alberta, the Liberal government, federal government, was trying to get him booted out because he wasn't cooperating.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then Hinshaw came forward and said, "No, we want to introduce the the jab for children 12 to 15
Yeah.
years."
Mm-hmm.
I, these children 12 to 15 years, their innate, not their acquired immune system, but their innate immune system
Mm-hmm.
takes care of them. This jab destroys the innate immune system.
What about the
And
infertility?
there's that too. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, and this is just my own opinion, but I'm thinking the reason they're waiting longer before they're doing the booster is because it's after folks get the booster that they start having all hell breaks loose in huge numbers. So maybe they want to make it look safer by not doing the booster right away, so that
Well,
it
what I,
appears
oh, go
they
ahead.
got a longer period of time to then bully and bullshit people into getting it.
No, what I was seeing in my research, Karen, is the reason why they're doing this, and it was one of the lead health officials for Canada that was being researched. I'll see if I can find the video and I'll send it to you. And it was
Great.
by somebody from one of the mainstream media asking these difficult questions, and
Mm-hmm.
they basically admitted because of the shortage that is out there for Canada that they looked at the window, speaking to the supposed vaccine manufacturers about how long they could wait between boosters because they want everybody to have their first shot. And
Mm-hmm.
they said they gave them a 4 to 6 month window. And so this reporter was asking, what made you choose four? Well, we
Mm-hmm.
wanted to pick something that wasn't right at the end, but wasn't, was we would have enough time to get the supply. This person actually admitted this. This
Mm-hmm.
is why they do not have the supply to administer the second booster shot to all the people that have had their first shot. And this reporter asked some tough and great questions. They said, well, first of all, what made you choose the 4 month period? And this doctor was just stammering away, wasn't prepared for
Mm-hmm.
these questions, including the fact that she said, how do they even know that 4 to 6 months is okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I want to go back a little bit with this, if this is okay. People may not be aware of the fact this vaccine is not new. They have been trying to get this vaccine on the market since the last SARS epidemic or so that we had, what, 20 years ago? And a
Yeah.
little bit about this that people may not be aware of, you can find this yourself, that every time they've tried to do, excuse me just for a minute, I'm live. Sorry, my partner just came in.
That's
So
okay.
every time they've tried to do or bring this through, the one thing that they skipped this time is they went to animal studies with it. Every time they tried this kind of technology, okay, they used ferrets, which are
Yeah.
very similar to our immune system,
Yeah.
and everything was fine. Animals got the shots, great serum antibody was produced, and they were quite excited. But what they could do with animals, and they could never do with humans until now, is that the animals were always exposed or faced a challenge, and they were exposed to the agent that they were supposedly vaccinated against. So they
Mm-hmm.
were exposed to the coronavirus with this kind of technology. And what would happen is all heck would break loose. The body would go into something called a cytokine storm, which means the
Yep.
whole immune system attacked the body. It crossed the blood-brain barrier, causing extensive brain damage in these animals, organ failure. They were seeing autoimmune issues that were so severe. And we're talking
Mm-hmm.
things like Guillain-Barré syndrome, where you're
Mm-hmm.
completely paralyzed. Also, that's known to cause things like ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease,
Mm-hmm.
cancer. There, some of the cells they're using, when you get down into the microbiology, can also attack the reproductive system.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, they were never able to get this through ever
And
because
didn't all the ferrets die in the
yeah,
end?
they had to be destroyed or they died
Yeah.
because of what happened. And it didn't just happen like the cytokine storm they saw quite quickly, but a lot of these things progressed. And this is what I think we're going to be seeing very unfortunately is in the
Yeah.
next 6 to 18 months
Yeah.
is where we're going to see a lot. And never mind the video you sent me, Karen, with all the people that have lost their lives that we do not hear about. We
Mm-hmm.
don't hear about this. It's scrubbed from the mainstream media.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Karen, I didn't mean to get off track, but I thought that was so important.
No, it's all relevant. It's all relevant, Lorilei. Now, I wanted to. I got to tell you, I've heard different health professionals claim that we will see the true response to what's going on in the autumn after the summer.
Yeah. Hmm.
But what I wanted to ask you is because you've got more medical background, I have very little. Actually, I have first year biology. That's as close as I ever came, just to be honest.
Hmm.
But it's my understanding that all of the vaccinations they have developed, I'm sorry, I'm not going to call it that. I'm just going to call it the jab.
Hmm.
All the jabs that they have created so far are for the original version of the coronavirus 19 and are completely ineffective to any of the variants. And we would
Sure,
be seeing more of the variants today
sure.
than we would see of the original. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And what it is, and very simplistically, and then I want to answer this question here about the tetanus shots because I wanted to add that as well. But
Mm-hmm.
okay, so what it is, and they're proposing, I hear they have at least 75 new vaccines in down the pipeline. They're just going to keep adding to this. But you're
Mm-hmm.
absolutely right. And you know, it was my own partner who doesn't really have any medical background, Dell, and he said every human being, an individual, their biochemistry and genetic makeup is completely individual to them.
Mm-hmm.
So what they've done, and one of the people I really do trust and follow quite a bit is Dr. Carrie Maude, and somebody
Mm-hmm.
mentioned her in here. And the reason why this woman has been speaking about what was coming with this vaccine from day one when COVID showed up, because she's been part of the vaccine community for 10 years. She knew
Yeah.
what was coming. Everything
Yeah.
she has said has been true. So what she says, and I have this fantastic interview she did, and she came with, if you will, receipts. She came with everything she talked about to back up what she was talking about and what they can do with gene therapy. There were two scientists on there talking about gene origami and that
Yeah.
you need a key that can unlock that. They could put explosives, they could put anything in there. But my whole point is where you were asking about the variants. No, this does not cover the variants. And the way she has explained it, I believe this is her gift, is breaking down medical technology into
Mm-hmm.
lay people's terminology without being condescending. And she said they guessed. They've never isolated what causes COVID. They got a
Mm-hmm.
tiny fragment. They plugged it into a computer. She said Moderna took 2 days to make their vaccine. And she
Oh,
said they guessed on what the computer came up with, the other part of the genetic spike protein. And that's what's in these vaccines. So no, the variants, and you're going to see variants because now
yeah.
people are transmitting, if you will, this spike protein.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's different genetically. They have no clue what this is going to do. They don't know, like, how is this even going to be shut off? It's teaching
Mm-hmm.
your cells to create the spiked protein. It's not specific. It was never geared to the lung cells where you have the issues with COVID if you did actually contract COVID. It's the
Mm-hmm.
whole body. And somebody
Mm-hmm.
in here put the tetanus shot is also an infertility shot. I heard that from Dr. Carrie Made, and I'm going to correct that a little bit. Where that took place is in Africa, where Bill Gates has a big hand in all this vaccine stuff. Dr. Tony Fauci has huge shares in Moderna. You can look that up yourself. But
Mm-hmm.
what happened was people were being told with a tetanus shot that they needed this tetanus shot in a large part of Africa. And so they were accepting it, and they were finding that women were miscarrying or unable to get pregnant. So there was some study done on this so-called tetanus shot. There were
Mm-hmm.
huge levels of beta HCG found in the tetanus shot. Now, HCG is the main hormone that a woman produces to maintain a full-term pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell was beta HCG doing in a tetanus shot?
Mm-hmm.
So not all tetanus shots, as I understand it, now contain this. He was discovered. And Bill Gates, why are you going there? Because he was the big spearheader behind all this and the funders
Mm-hmm.
behind all this. And who are you to decide that there's too much population on the earth, and through proper vaccine care, that hopefully we'll get that population down. And you people can find that in a TED talk he did.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I saw that one. So when the Prime Minister Trudeau is telling everybody we've got 30 million, no, what was it? 30 million doses coming next year, 30 million the year after, and
Mm-hmm.
then we've got 60 million coming the year after that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that for the so-called original, or is that for a variant? What the hell does that even mean? Do you have any idea?
All I can tell you is from the research that I've done for many years, and my partner also does this, he does a show on these kind of topics about, if you will, I hate the term conspiracy theory, prefer truth seeking, is that the powers that be, if you will, the small percent that pull these strings all around the world,
Mm-hmm.
they always tell you what they're doing. I'm sure many of your listeners have heard, are the Simpsons psychic? Like, how do they know all this stuff?
Yeah.
They're not
Yes.
psychic. They always tell you. It's up to you to figure out where they put it, whether it's in a video, in The Simpsons, whether it's in a book, whether magazine, wherever it is. I don't know if they think
Yeah.
they're playing fair because they've told the public. So Bill
Yeah.
Gates has been very, very clear about the fact that we'll be ready for the next pandemic that is going to be coming. He has said that in his own words.
Mm-hmm.
So what is coming? I don't know, because I don't think this is just for the variants. Like I said, why do you have 75 of these type of vaccines, as I understand it, in the pipeline with many of these drug manufacturers? Why do you have them? Never mind that people don't understand this. I had this own conversation with the physician I have to see once a month,
Mm-hmm.
that you can't sue vaccine companies, and especially for COVID. They are exempt
Mm-hmm.
from any responsibility. So my question has always been, what is the onus on Big Pharma to create something safe and effective when there is no repercussion in any way, shape, or form if it creates the firestorm that we're starting to see now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's money.
And just as the ferrets had the bad reaction once they were exposed to it,
Mhm.
there is, in my opinion, a very high likelihood that, when the seasonal colds and flus start up in September, that is going to cause the same reaction in those who have gotten this medical device. And so I just I don't want to think about it. I just live in the moment, live in the day, and
Yeah,
do the
but the
best I
common
can with what
cold,
I
Karen,
have.
the common cold is a coronavirus.
Yeah,
Most people aren't aware of that. We have been around coronaviruses probably since we've been on this earth.
yeah,
When you look at the death rates, and we had this conversation with a friend that was here. He's saying, "Well, all these people are dying, and old people are dying, and the numbers are going through the roof." I said, "Take a look at the numbers for 2020. It's even a little bit less than every year. We lose a
yeah,
lot of
it's
people to the
less.
flu." Yeah. Hmm.
You, you know what really blew me away is the average life expectancy of an adult in Canada is 82 years. People are
Hmm.
expected, that's the average.
Right.
But the average of people who have died from so-called COVID
Hmm.
is 84. So
Hmm.
that means you could live 2 years longer if you got the virus. But because of the way that they are manipulating the statistics, they're lying. But I got to tell you, Lorilei, for those that are waking up, I will never, well, I never did really trust the government because I could see cracks in the holes of their house of cards a long time ago. But
Right.
now I see how pervasive it is. I would never trust
Mhm.
any of them ever again. I
I,
can't
I
afford to.
No, and I think that's I have literally seen in a live I was on watching, because we do research, we share, we're in groups or we share from around the world. Karen does it, I do it, there's other people that do it as well.
Yeah.
There were people writing, I swear to God to you, this was a week ago, I trust my government. They would never do anything
Oh,
wrong.
wow.
And like really, after everything that's going on here, never mind that. What I want to say, and you made a really important point a little bit ago, Karen, is the fact that no, this is not on the doctors and nurses, because the ones that are speaking up, look what is happening to them. There's a doctor out in BC that's come out that's been a physician in a rural community for 29 years.
Yeah.
And when he started to speak up, he was threatened with his license being removed,
Mm-hmm.
with him facing huge, exorbitant fines from the Canadian College of Physicians and Surgeons. We're
Mm-hmm.
seeing this with nurses. This is happening to nurses already. What if,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, if I was working, I'm a single mom. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what am I going to do? I got to put food on the table. I've got a disabled son that's going to be with me for the rest of my life. And I don't say that for pity. What I'm saying
Mm-hmm.
is, I have people dependent on me, as do everybody else. Where do
Yeah.
you get your living? Never mind that Trudeau snuck in. I've seen the legislation that
Mm-hmm.
it's actually exists that federally any employer can lay off an employee that refuses to be vaccinated until if they're working with the public, until they agree to it, or if they lay them off, they are not eligible for unemployment or anything else to that effect in the way of money. Now, how is
Mm-hmm.
that not mandatory?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, personally, we're just about out of time, but
I know.
personally, I just want to say that to me, what's echoing for me is the whole mark of the beast thing, that you won't be
Yes.
able to buy or sell without the mark, which makes me want to dig in my heels and not take it even more so. But that's what I think. Now, we only got a couple more minutes before we have to go, but I'm wondering, what about on a spiritual perspective? Do you think that there is spiritual help? Do you think that this is all being noticed by forces that are bigger and stronger, hopefully, than us? What's your take on that, Lorilei?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do agree 100%. Mark of the beast. I don't think people were realizing this. I think it's a spiritual battle that's going on between light and dark. I
Mm-hmm.
do believe that light always triumphs over dark, including truth,
Mm-hmm.
always comes to the surface eventually.
Mm-hmm.
My only question, I believe that we do have help. I believe that there, again, people might think I'm a wingnut, but Pleiadians and Syrians and Lyri, we do have ET friends out there. We've seen it with nuclear reactors. That's a whole different show, but
Mm-hmm.
there are beings out there that are here to help, and I believe they will come to help in the ways that they need to. But I think this is also about the human race learning to unite as one, put your
Mm-hmm.
differences aside that aren't going to make any difference 10 years from now, and standing as one for humanity, because we need to learn how to rescue ourselves. Yes, there's help coming, but we need to stand together.
I agree 100%. Laura Lee, thank you so much for being on the Convergence show with me today. I'm hoping you will come back in a few weeks and we can compare
Anytime.
notes and we can get into
Mhm.
the leaked document from the Liberal Party of Canada and some more things. And I just love you so much. I encourage everyone to check out Lorilei Potvin and the Angel Rock Show, and she's very easy to find on social media. And but that's about all we have time for today. Just a reminder, the Quantum Health Transformation online course and other inspiring information is free. And if you would like to help support my work, please purchase some of my beautiful Zen Dome organites.
They're gorgeous.
Thank you. Due to the pandemic, we're having difficulty sourcing supplies, and so we're unable to make more at this time, but there's still quite a bit to choose from on the website. If you want to help create the change that you wish to see in the world, take exquisite care of the temple body, raise your vibrational frequency, and learn from the Quantum Health Transformation Program. Let me know if you have any questions about our discussion today, and I'll do my best to answer them on the next show. You can email me at forbiddentransformation@gmail.com. Join me and bring your friends as we go live at 1 p.m. Mountain Time every Tuesday here on People for People Radio. A special thank you to Gaz and Vanessa for hosting me and moderating for me on People for People Radio. And much love and light to you, the viewers. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me. If you would like to enjoy more of my content, check out my website at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. That's KarenHolton healthcoach.com, where you will find an abundance of free resources to assist with energetic ascension into physical, mental, and spiritual paradise. You will find there the 9 steps to quantum health transformation. As mentioned before, this is my free, no strings attached, comprehensive online lifestyle course. You will see episodes of the Quantum Guide Show, interviews with awakened masters. Let them share their quantum work with you. And you will also find some episodes also feature my friend Lorilei Potvin. And then I'm also co-host of the Forbidden Transformation Show with Karen and Chris. You can learn how to make positive ET contact, improve your life, and find your experiencer community. And then there's the Fringe View. Science fiction becomes science fact as you learn about my real-life paranormal and extraterrestrial experiences from my various podcasts. If you want to support my work, as I mentioned before, please do check out my online shop. I have my Zen Domes Organite. I have a few comfort crystals still available. This is a limited collection of energetically infused semi-precious stones. I have lifestyle services, workshops, assessments, and one-on-one support. And of course, PDF downloads, which are printable, shareable copies of my lessons. So my website again is www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. And you can always find me here on People for People Radio, www.peopleforpeople.ning.com. And then you can check out my YouTube channel, and I also have a backup channel now on Odyssey. So thank you so much, Lorilei, for joining me. We will I will have you back as guest in the very near future. And I wish all of you much light and much love.
Thank you, Karen. My pleasure. I look forward to it again.
Thank you.